Long ago, there lived a man named Karim and his son, Yusuf. Their home was simple, made of clay walls that kept the desert heat at bay. Though they owned very little, one thing stood out among their possessions: a humble donkey. Now, this donkey wasn't anything special to look at. Its fur was patchy, its step sometimes slow, but it was faithful. It carried baskets of grain, jars of water, and even firewood from the hills. To Karim and Yusuf, the donkey wasn't just an animal, it was part of the family, helping them live each day. One bright morning, father and son prepared to travel to the bustling town market. It was a weekly tradition. Farmers came from miles away with sacks of dates, carpets, spices, clay pots, and everything one could imagine. For Karim, the trip was not only about trading goods but also about teaching his son the ways of life. So, just after sunrise, they set out. The desert was already warming, the sand glimmering like tiny sparks of gold. Karim walked with steady steps, leading the donkey by its rope, while young Yusuf skipped beside him. The boy's eyes sparkled with excitement at the thought of the market, colorful stalls, laughter, the smell of roasted nuts, and the chance to see people from villages far beyond their own. At first, everything seemed peaceful. But soon, whispers floated from a group of villagers standing by the roadside. "Look at that foolish man," one of them muttered loud enough to be heard. "He has a donkey, yet he lets his boy walk under the blazing sun. What kind of father makes his son suffer like that?" Karim slowed his steps. He glanced at Yusuf, who was happily humming a tune, unaware of the criticism. Karim smiled gently, touched his son's shoulder, and said, "Come, Yusuf. Climb onto the donkey. Rest your small feet. A father's job is to protect his child." The boy's face lit up. With a joyful laugh, he hopped onto the donkey's back. And so they continued, father walking, son riding, donkey plodding along steadily. Not long after, they reached a small roadside tea stall. A few elderly men sat there, sipping steaming cups of tea from clay mugs. Their eyes followed the trio, and one of them shook his head in disapproval. "Ah, what shame," he declared loudly. "The world has lost its values. A young boy rides like a prince, while his poor father walks in the dust. Where is respect for elders? Where is honor?" Karim's heart sank. He didn't want to be seen as a weak or dishonorable father. Turning to his son, he said softly, "Yusuf, come down. Today, it is your father's turn to ride." So the boy slid off the donkey, and Karim climbed on. Now Yusuf walked by his side, his small sandals kicking up little clouds of dust. The donkey carried the father comfortably while the son trudged along. But peace did not last. Just beyond the bend in the road, they met a traveler who burst into laughter at the sight. "What selfishness," the stranger mocked. "A grown man rides like a king, while his poor son stumbles in the heat. Have you no shame?" Karim's face flushed. He immediately pulled his son up onto the donkey to sit in front of him. This way, he thought, no one will find fault. We both ride, and no one will complain. At first, this arrangement seemed to work. Father and son sat together, rocking gently as the donkey moved along. But when they neared a well where women were filling clay jars with water, new voices rose against them. "Cruelty," one woman cried. "Look at these two. How heartless to weigh down that poor animal with both their bodies. Have they no compassion?" Another woman nodded. "The donkey looks weary. Can't they see they are breaking its back?" Karim's stomach twisted with embarrassment. His son, too, shifted uncomfortably, hearing the sharp words. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, Karim stopped. "Enough," he muttered under his breath. "If nothing we do is right, perhaps I must do something no one can criticize." And so, in a desperate attempt to silence the endless opinions, Karim did the unthinkable. He tied the donkey's legs together with a rope, slung the animal over his broad shoulders, and staggered forward under its weight. The sight was ridiculous. Dust flew everywhere, the donkey brayed in confusion, and Yusuf followed behind, wishing he could disappear. By the time they reached the marketplace, the scene had become a spectacle. Merchants burst into laughter, children pointed and clapped, and even passers-by stopped in their tracks. "Look! A man carrying a donkey," someone shouted. "Madness! Complete madness," another roared with laughter. Yusuf's cheeks burned with shame. He lowered his gaze, unable to meet the mocking eyes around them. Finally, Karim could take it no more. His back ached, his pride was wounded, and his son looked miserable. He set the donkey down on the ground and wiped the sweat from his brow. Turning to Yusuf, he spoke with quiet wisdom. "My child, do you see what has happened? Whether I let you ride, or both of us ride, or even if I carry the donkey on my back, people will always have something to say. Their tongues will never rest. No matter what choice we make, someone will always criticize." Yusuf nodded slowly, his young face thoughtful. He had seen the truth with his own eyes. Karim continued, "If we spend our lives trying to please every voice we hear, we will exhaust ourselves. We will carry burdens that were never meant for us. The truth, my son, is simple. We must walk the path we know is right, the path that sits well in our hearts and is pleasing before God. Let the world chatter as it will." With those words, father and son untied the donkey's legs and walked side by side into the marketplace, just as they had begun. No longer worried about the gossip of strangers, they moved forward with quiet dignity. And that, dear listener, is the heart of this story. In life, you will always hear voices. Some will praise you, some will question you, and some will mock you. If you try to chase everyone's approval, you will lose your way and end up exhausted, carrying unnecessary weight. But if you choose to walk with purpose, guided by what is right, then peace will be yours, even if others don't understand. So the next time someone criticizes your choices, remember Karim, Yusuf, and their donkey. Remember how trying to satisfy every opinion turned into a comedy that left them burdened and humiliated. And remind yourself, not all voices deserve your attention. Follow what is good. Do what is kind. And walk in the way that gives you peace. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to know how you deal with the voices around you. And if you enjoy these wisdom-filled tales, don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more stories that inspire and encourage. Because sometimes, one simple story is enough to change the way we walk through life.